If hard work was the answer, then every construction worker in the world would be a millionaire. But they're not. And neither are most people. Because the biggest lie that we've been sold is that working harder directly makes you more money. But think about it. Who works harder? The CEO of a billion-dollar company or the guy pulling 12-hour shifts in a warehouse? Exactly. The hardest working people in the world aren't usually the richest. So let me ask you this, if working more doesn't make you rich, then what does? Well, I'll tell you, what separates the people grinding every single day from the ones that are actually building wealth, it's not effort, it's leverage. And don't get me wrong, you need to have a strong work ethic, especially in the beginning. You need to be willing to put in the time that it takes and the hours that it takes to succeed. But if you don't understand how to utilize leverage in your business, you'll stay stuck, no matter how many hours you work. And most people believe that just working harder, they're eventually going to get rich. But look around. The hardest working people in the world, construction workers, janitors, Uber drivers, aren't the ones making millions. Meanwhile, the people that are making the most money often seem to be working the least. Why? Because the rich don't hustle harder, they leverage better. Leverage is what separates struggling entrepreneurs, solopreneurs from business owners who actually build wealth. Because if your business can't run without you, you don't have a business. You just own your own job. And if you don't understand how to utilize leverage in your business, you'll stay stuck in the money trap forever. So let's jump into how we can actually start utilizing leverage in our business. So the first thing that you need to do to start understanding leverage is to understand your time for money trap, right? And this isn't some complex formula. We probably learned it in like second grade math. Hours per week divided by the total amount of income you make equals how much you make per hour, right? Not complicated at all. But where it gets a little bit interesting and what most people don't realize is what we're going to go into. So I want you to take a second, take a little notepad while you're watching this video and list out all of your income streams. So maybe you drive Uber or you do some freelance work, you have your main job, you have all these different things that, whether they make you a lot of money or a little bit of money, you want to list them out. And you want to list how much money you actually make and then just do the simple formula, right? How many hours do you work a week divided by the total amount of all your income streams, and that's going to be your money per hour. But this is where it gets interesting because how many of these incomes would disappear if you didn't show up for work? If you didn't show up to your main job, would they still pay you? Probably not. If you didn't drive Uber, do a freelance job, would they still pay you? Probably not, right? And you hear this buzzword all the time called passive income. And really, there's not anything that is true passive income. However, passive income is very simple where it's you don't have to show up and you still get paid. That's what business owners do, right? Instead of being the solopreneur that doesn't understand leverage, that's just owning your own job. So when you actually understand that you can work and put in all the time up front and really grow the business, understanding leverage, and you can actually make money without working all the hours. So that's exactly what we talked about in the intro is if you understand how to do this, you can make money and understand leverage and reach true scale. So ask yourself these questions, spend some time, list out all of your income streams, and then really ask how many of these incomes would disappear if you didn't show up, right? So now we need to break out of this trap. We need to understand leverage. And in business, there's only 3 types of leverage, right? And they're all umbrella terms. There's a lot of micro things underneath that could fall under these, but there's only 3. One is people. People have extreme amount of leverage because it's people doing jobs that your business needs. Number 2 is money or capital. That's a pretty obvious one. If you have money, you can usually leverage more. And number 3 is honestly the most important, especially if you're just starting out, especially if you're a new business owner, but we're going to get into that towards the end. So keep watching for number 3 because it is the most important. So the first one, right? People. The freelancer trap versus the business owner model, right? It's exactly what we talked about. The freelancer makes, $50 an hour, but is limited by their time. So even if you make $50 an hour, which, in today's world, that's way higher than minimum wage. That's pretty good money, $50 an hour. but the most you could ever make in a day is $1,200. And that's if you work every hour for all 24 hours. And none of us are superhumans. We all need sleep at some point. So the freelancer or the solopreneur, the struggling business that thinks hustling more makes them more money, you have to do the math. If you're capped at only $1,200 a day that you could make, then you're not really leveraging your ability. But business owners hire teams. So even if they pay out $25 an hour to a freelancer or to an employee, but they focus on high value work, there's no limit in the amount that you can actually make, right? And now you just work on margins as a business owner, right? If I pay someone $25 an hour, but I charge $50 an hour, that person does the job, but I make $25 an hour and I'm not actually doing any of the work. So leveraging people is a very, very powerful tool that you can utilize to actually see true scale and see true growth. But it's very hard to find high quality people. That's a whole nother conversation of the hiring, but you can always utilize people as the number one leverage because it turns you from a solopreneur or a struggling business owner to an actual business owner. Someone that can, look like they're not working 24 hours a day, but still pulling in a lot of money. So how do you start applying people leverage, right? The biggest thing is stop doing $10 an hour tasks, right? In your business, you know what tasks don't make you money. Everyone does, right? Unless you're just a complete novice, then honestly, I recommend just going through the struggle, figuring out what $10 hour tasks look like. But most people that are running a business or have any experience with it know what tasks that they do on a day-to-day basis that make them zero money and does not push the needle forward in the business. So stop doing $10 an hour tasks. Hire one assistant or a freelancer, even if it's part-time. And the biggest misconception, you don't have to be paying these people $80,000 a year, right? You can find a part-time freelancer or a part-time VA that can help accomplish those $10 an hour tasks. Because the funny part, the paradox of it is those $10 an hour tasks still need to be done. It just doesn't need to be done by you, the business owner. You can hire a personal assistant or a freelancer. Like I said, even if it's part-time, you could do it for about $1,000 a month, maybe $2,000 a month, and find someone and train them to take over those tasks. And for you as the business owner, you need to focus on the high value tasks, right? Things like sales, strategy, systems. Those are things that actually push the needle forward. And even marketing, doing content, doing sales, doing strategy, that's what pushes the needle forward. And you need to really identify in your business what tasks you do on a daily basis that other people can do and allows you to actually push the needle. But hiring people isn't the only way to scale, right? You don't need 100 employees to reach true scale. We've seen tech people do it, billion-dollar valuation with 5 people. If you look at WhatsApp, there were like 5-6 people and they became a billion-dollar company because there are other ways to scale, right? And this works with any business. This works with brick and mortar, HVAC, roofing, real estate, financial advisors, the whole 9 yards. People aren't always the only way to scale. So the second way that the rich build leverage is by using other people's, you guessed it, money. Right? The difference between someone who grinds for 10 years and someone who scales their business in 2 is one waits to afford their growth and the other uses money to buy growth, right? And it is a little bit different, but you always say, you got to spend money to make money, and that's a whole different conversation. It's not always true, but if you're not willing to reinvest into things that grow for the long term, and you're only focused on this instant gratification of, I made $1,500 this month, I'm going to pay myself all that money. Well, no, you're not utilizing leverage. You need to be able to reinvest that money. And that's the difference between someone that takes 10 years to grow a business and 2 instead of the person that takes 2 years, is the person that takes 2 years usually does not pay themselves for that entire 2 years, reinvest all the money into their people, their team, all of these different things to reach that true amount of scale. So how do we apply money leverage today, right? Number 1, reinvest the profits instead of saving. There's a huge misconception that if you save a ton of money, then your business is good. Well, no, you obviously need to have, your runway covered. You need to have at least probably 6 months of runway, but you need to reinvest your profits. You need to hire more people. You need to reinvest into new processes, new software tools, new things that are actually going to push the needle. Number 2, use business credit and funding smartly, right? And I am not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to tell you to go get a credit card and start maxing it out. Don't do that. Be smart with it. Understand how it works. There's a lot of great information on how to do it, but business owners know how to utilize credit and funding, right? They know how to get capital in that's not their own money, and they know how to utilize credit to their benefit to actually grow and scale without taking money out that is direct profit. Number 3, use to get higher quality employees. Like I've just mentioned, if you make $5,000 a month in your business and you can take $2,000 of the profit and hire somebody, but you don't pay yourself, but then that person takes the majority of the work off your plate and you can focus on sales or strategy or moving forward, that is a much better use of your money than trying to put a little bit of money in the bank and going and buying a pair of shoes, right? So here's where 99% of business owners fail. Number 3, the biggest thing in leverage. They hustle instead of utilizing systems, right? And systems is the most important one in my opinion, because especially if you're starting out, usually you don't have any money. And if you don't have any money, it's very hard to get high quality people. Maybe you have a friend that can help out, but at a certain moment in time, they're going to not work for free. They're going to want money. So if you don't have money and you can't hire people, the number 1 leverage technique is putting in systems. Because especially with today's technology and some of the software tools that are out there, similar to what we have with Rubik, you can automate almost 90% of your mundane tasks, your $10 an hour tasks, you can automate. So if your business still relies on you to function, it's time to change that. And you really have to be self-aware and ask yourself those questions. How much does your business really rely on you to grow, right? But imagine if you could automate lead generation, follow-up, sales, and all this works while you sleep. Well, that's exactly what successful business owners do. Successful business owners understand that if you put in the right system, you put in the work and the time to build it, the system will run on autopilot. And it'll work while they sleep, so now they just increase their capacity. Remember the example I said in the beginning. Some people work 16-hour days, or even if you work 24-hour days and you got paid $50 an hour, you're still capped at $1,200 and you still need sleep, right? So now imagine just even that same freelancer that could actually work 12 hours a day but have systems work while he sleeps that still gets the work done. Now he can work 12 hours a day and it just increased his capacity. Now imagine that at scale for a business and you have multiple people, multiple employees, or you have multiple processes that you automate, you can start seeing the wheels turn faster. But what automation should I actually do and where to build them, right? This is one of the biggest questions that we get asked. This is one of the biggest questions out there is, okay, great. I understand that systems are important. I understand I need to have automations, but what automation should I even have? And how do I build them? How do I, spend less money and actually accomplish these goals? Well, that's what we actually covered in one of our other videos. I'm going to link it at the end of this video and in the caption below. You can take a look. We go through the top 3 business systems that every single business needs. Whether you're making $10 million a year or you're just starting out, you need to utilize these 3. So go ahead and check out that video. We go a lot more in depth on actual systems and how to build it. But that is one of the biggest things that you guys need to start implementing. And I would focus on this first, right? If you have $1 million in the bank, great. Hire someone to build systems. Hire people to do the tasks. But most people that are starting out don't have millions of dollars in the bank. I know I didn't. I started off with $0 and had to grow and bootstrap. And that's probably how most people are as well. So if you can focus on systems and taking away that time and automating these processes, it's going to absolutely change your life. So let's just recap. The most successful businesses don't rely on hustle. They rely on leverage. And you hear it way too much on social media nowadays. Oh, all you gotta do is hustle. You need another source of income. You need all these different things. No, you need systems. You need money and you need people. And the leveraging of people so you don't have to do everything, right? I'm sure everyone watching this video or anybody that started a business understands that when you're doing every single task in the entire business, it sucks and it's hard and you work all this hours. And don't get me wrong, you need to do that in the beginning. When you're starting out a business and you're the only person that can see the vision and do the tasks, you need to put in 12, 14-hour days, right? You need to. But then you also have to learn leverage and you have to know when to pull those levers, right? When you first start a company, it's not smart to go spend 50 grand a month hiring all these people because the proof of concept isn't there, right? So you need to be willing to test and innovate and put in the hours as the founder and CEO of your business to get those results. But then you also have to understand leverage. So leveraging people so you don't have to do everything. Leverage money so you don't have to grow slowly. The more money you can dish out, the faster the growth. And then leverage automation, leverage systems so their businesses run 24/7 even while they're not working. You could be sleeping in your bed and have a system that outreaches to leads and gets you demos booked. Or you could have a system that follows up and increases your retention rate because it's doing it while you sleep. So these are the biggest things that you need to start understanding. And like I said, watch the next video in this list where we're going to break down the top 3 systems that you need to implement in your business. And as always, if you like the content, like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.